Hi, I'm your mom last night, and you're listening to the Jamesy Wamesy Show. Book reviews, original art, copyright-free backing tracks, and now, the man who thought fallopian tubes were inflatables at the swimming pool, Jamesy Wamesy.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jamesy Wamesy Show. I've been experimenting with posting images in my videos, and I thought I'd experiment by just doing something very much heavily into one artist. This specific artist is Charest. Now, in 1969, Charest was born in Canada. And he's especially known for his career, not in no particular order. He worked on DC's book Wild Stars, and then Wild Storm's book Wildcats. Then he did a crossover with Grifter and She. That's an unusual one. I think there were a lot of crossovers back in the day with characters that weren't as significant, with all due respect to Stanley Tucci. Let's see. His big one was the Wildcats X-Men Golden Age. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but that was when I was really struck by him. Every time I find a copy of it, as long as it's affordable, I'll buy a copy, even though I already have it. It's just, I want access to that art, and I want it immediately. By the way, this is Gambit from 1993. Nice little convention sketch. You can see a lot of the Jim Lee-isms back then. Alright, here's Wildcats number 1, the volume 2. This was inked by my old friend, Richard Friend. He didn't ink this particular cover, but he did ink the interiors. There's a little in-shot of the original pencils for the cover. You can see that Grifter's head was facing a different direction. All right, then Travis worked on Meta Barons, and eventually he worked on the Ambassadors. That was for Mark Millar. I'd say the Meta Barons was kind of the end for his style for a while. Here's a page from it. I thought this was a fantastic page. I'd say the first maybe 8 or 10 pages from the book are just beautiful to look at, and after that. Well, he had 4 pages of these stolen from him while he was visiting America, and somebody in France must have taken them. And I don't think he ever recovered from the psychologically from losing those pages. Now, he had actually done that to work, like he had stopped working on this project. This was going to be part of the Dark Age. It was the last chapter of the X-Men crossover with the Wildcats. He actually had drawn a couple panels. I can't find them on my phone right now. But here's some stuff that was just kind of inserted into the Golden Age book. But you can kind of tell that there's something futuristic there going on. Now this was from an Aliens book that he worked on. He only did 2 pages. Everybody that contributed to it. I remember there was Sergio Aragonés had contributed to it, but that's basically what his pencils looked like on the book. Maybe the blacks are a little darker than on the actual final project. All right, let's see. He was born on a farm in a small Canadian town called Leduc in Alberta. His parents held various jobs, though he has stated that his mother and sister were skilled designers, and attributes his early childhood interest in drawing to them. By the way, here's a rare glimpse of his pencil work, and the inks are actually by Kevin Nolan. He did one page in the entire, I think it was issue 26. It might have been 27. Yeah, but it was written by Alan Moore. It was really good. This was also from 26 or 27. Once again, Swiss Cheese Brain. These sketches were from issue number 50, I believe. A little preview of what was to come. And here is a redesign for Spartan. Here's that picture again, but here's an image from Wizard Magazine, I believe it was. I thought it was really good. I thought you'd all like to see that. Here's a nice process shot. You get to see pencils, inks, and then colors. A lot of really good artists, you don't really get to see the process like that, so I figured you all would get a kick out of that. I think his first work was for DC. He did like a Flash short. I think it might have been for a Showcase. They were doing those Showcase 93s, 94s, 95s, whatever they were back in the day. This was a variant cover for Danger Girl he did. He also did a Battle Chasers cover here. But I prefer the Danger Girl one myself. So after his couple of Flash stories, he started working on Dark Stars. Like, he had done, I think, like 4 issues of the series. He had followed Larry Stroman on the series, and at first they wanted him to pretty much duplicate his style, but I think once they saw his pencils, they were like, okay, we're going to take this in a new direction. Check this out. This is the cover for the Golden Age. I believe it had a variant cover by Jim Lee, and this cover was much cooler. Here's some of the interior art. Yeah, I think like Charest kind of eclipsed his hero. He doesn't credit him as his hero. He was crediting Mike Mignola, Adam Hughes, and Brian Bolland for his interest in art. And according to his Wikipedia, also like just anonymous like 30s and 40s illustrators. Here's another one from the Dark Age. I thought that looked pretty cool. I don't think all of his work looks as cool as his early work did. I think now that he's back, ever since around 2013 or 14, ever since that, I think his work is lacking something. I think he had taken some time off to start a new family after the Meta Barons project fell apart. By the way, he didn't even finish that project. It was finished being penciled by Jean Chatev, I believe his name is. I think he did around a good decent 30 pages. But like I said, only about 10 of them I really like. So speaking of really like, I really like both of these covers for the Wildcats, especially the one in the middle. But I'm always focusing on the one with Zealot with the grass growing there. I really like this one because of the cartoony characters. I think that's what's lacking in his newer stuff, is everything has to be super, super realistic now. This is from issue number 50, I believe. He came back after around issue 32 or so. There's another page, that full color page from the same issue 50 there. Him and Alan Moore came back for just one short story, alluding to the fact that the main villain of their storyline was very much still alive, and he had pretty much tricked everybody into thinking he was dead. Alright, now here's some early pencils. I think that's really strong stuff. I can see why there was so much potential. There's the final version. I can see why there was so much excitement about this guy at the time. Imagine if this guy like dropped off his pencils like at your studio. I'd be pretty impressed. But yeah, after Dark Stars, he went on to Wildstorm, and he eventually, he did a Wildcat special and he did some backups, and then eventually he became the regular pencil on regular Wildcats, following up on Jim Lee after he took a sabbatical. Here are some variant covers he did. Like they all joined together. I think there was 8 of them all together. But I think this is one of my favorites. I really like the pole in the front. I think that actually has influenced my work quite a bit, now that I'm doing a bit more sci-fi in my comic book. Papa Balloon and Cactus, by the way. I used to have this in my room. I got it from Blockbuster Video. It was a display Metal Gear Solid. I read somewhere that he actually drew this directly in ink. He didn't even pencil this because he was like facing major crunch on a deadline, and he just rushed this out and gave it to them. Imagine being able to do something that awesome and that detailed, and basically just doing it because you have to meet a deadline. This was a print, I think, for a free speech thing. Like I see these all the time on eBay, but this is signed by Richard Friend and by Travis Charest. All right, this is some of his Dark Stars work. You can kind of see some of the Jim Lee-ism, but I think you can really see there is a difference there. Now this is from his newer version of Wildcats, volume number 2. I think it was issue number 2. Alright, you've seen this before. I had shown it off the in the smaller window, like compared to what the final version was earlier. Alright, is this issue 3, I believe? Yeah, this is number 3. It was a fun issue, but I think that Travis didn't even get to finish the issue. I think the deadline's caught up with him there too. It's a recurring theme. I've heard he's actually a quick penciler when he's actually committed to a job and he's already in the throes of things. But getting him to that spot is another thing. This is another one from Grifter and Chi. I've always liked those lines on the girl's face. I wish I could ink like that. Alright, so after Wildcats, obviously he went on to Meta Barons, and that didn't end well for obvious reasons. Here's Detective Comics cover that he had done. He did several covers at DC. I always liked those covers, but I wasn't buying them at that time. Here's another one with Azrael and Robin on the cover. So yeah, after he went off to start his family, well, this is another one of those great Meta Baron pages. Notice I'm sharing all the ones I like. But yeah, after he started his family, took a sabbatical, he came back and he wasn't quite the same. This was, I think, number 32 of Podcast. I could be way off on that. But that's really cool. Now, he did this poster for Dark Horse, featuring a lot of their licensed properties. I've seen the pencil version of this. I should have probably grabbed it and thrown it in the video. But, yeah, that's really awesome. More of the end of the good period. This is from the Meta Barons. Then we have Captain America. I always liked this picture, but a lot of people make fun of his legs in this. I guess he drew him a little bit lanky. Right, and here's an early Batman. Yeah, look at those shoulders. You can tell the Jim Lee influence on that one especially. Alright, here is another one from Wildcats number 50. I think I showed you a different one, but I'm not 100% sure. And here's another one from Meta Barons. Another cool one. All right, and there's the cover to Weapons of the Meta Barons, his Doom's project. Now, I was looking at his technique and material section on his Wikipedia, and it seems very, very dated. It references how he worked in the year 2000, and it's been 26 years. We really need an update on what he uses and the tools that he applies his craft with. It does mention that he does use computers now. Okay, we're running out of time, so I just wanted to give you a quick bibliography of Travis Charest. First, we have the Flash Annual 5. Then he did a short for the Incredible Hulk Annual number 18, which was written by Peter David. Then his Dark Stars run was 4 through 7. Then Showcase 93, number 3. Then Green Lantern Corps Quarterly. Then we have the Wildstorm stuff. First he had the Wildcat special, and then he did some shorts. Then he became the regular penciler on Wildcats. By the way, you may be wondering why there's an Alex Ross image up here. This was actually the 4 on Reed Richards' shirt was actually designed by Travis Charest in a throwaway sketch in his sketchbook. Alex Ross loved it so much that he actually approached him to see if he could actually use it when he was doing Full Circle. I thought that was a cool little tidbit you all might appreciate. Then somewhere along the line, Travis did the Wildcats X-Men crossover, The Golden Age. Then he followed that up with Meta Barons. Meta Barons was actually created by Alejandro Jodorowsky. He's a Chilean filmmaker. He was pretty big in maybe the early 70s, late 60s. He made a Western called El Topo, which was an underground midnight film that was championed by John Lennon. And the art was handled by Mobius, of all people. I should mention that he did work on the Ambassadors number 3. That was his last interiors on any project, and that was back in 2023. Hopefully he'll get back to it soon. Well, we didn't think we'd get away with not reading from hot tips tonight, right? Let's see what we got, guys. I don't like this chapter's name. It's pretty stupid. Alright, this one is on Vision and Artistic Truth. Let's see. Oh, here's one from Terry Beatty. I respect artists that have a distinctly personal style and make a strong statement with their artwork. Frank Robbins is certainly one, and so is Johnny Craig. Yeah, I'm a big fan of both of those guys. I like Johnny Craig's earlier stuff when he was working at EC a lot more than his work at Marvel, but he's still a very solid hand. And same with Frank Robbins. I've always liked his stylish work. I've never had a period where I was like disgusted by his stuff when I was younger. I think he's pretty cool, and I really like his comic strip stuff, like first and foremost, and then his Batman work later on was really good too. Well, thanks for everything, guys, and we'll see you next time on the Jamesy Wamesy Show.